Hi, Jen.
Hi, Em.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
You know what? I've been better.
You really? Like, I don't know.
And we're
Tell
gonna
me.
no, we're gonna talk about all that. We're gonna
Yeah.
talk about today's here's what I had asked for. There was a different episode planned for recording today. I had said to Jen Nikki, there's only one episode I'm willing to record, which is I'm gonna talk today about sometimes the goal is not about doing better. We talk so much about doing better. And here's my fucking issue is I think every woman in America is like reading everything and listening to everything and trying to do better. And then, we got men doing like 10%. And and in this moment, I'm like, I'm gonna be a fucking man. I'm not gonna try to do better right now. I'm gonna just try to not do worse. And that's what I'm gonna talk about today is that sometimes we are in a fucking place that is just about not doing worse.
And of course, we're stereotyping here for the men who listen to this podcast.
All three
Um,
of you.
all three of you, you're the ones doing the
Yes.
work.
But I mean, do you know what I mean? Like, don't you feel like every woman is like
Yes.
she's reading and she's listening and she's fucking growing, and you're just like, what the f? And so like my thing is just that like there are times, men, women, doesn't fucking matter, that you actually don't need to grow.
Yeah.
Just survive.
I also think it's so embedded in our culture right now that like you have to keep growing and you have to, and I think, we contribute to that.
Yeah, we're we're,
We
we're part of
contribute.
the problem.
We're part of the problem. But I think we can also be part of the solution by saying, like, you do not have to constantly be a work in progress.
I'm not
You,
progressing this week.
right, and that's okay. And so just, I think if you're like on this self-help journey, you're always putting this pressure on yourself of like, I need to keep growing. I need to learn this about myself. I need to analyze myself. I need to, and listen, like, I fucking love that shit too. But when you're in, when you are in it, like when you've got a lot of shit going on and you are on the edge of burnout, sometimes all you can do is survive. And just to have this episode to validate that like you're allowed to just survive. You don't have to constantly be working towards something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell us,
Wait, we
tell
have an
us a
intro
little.
question.
Oh, we do? I didn't even see
Yes.
it. I'm
Okay. We
ready.
have an intro question. And I really like it, so I'm not gonna skip it.
Okay.
Um, if you had a severance chip, what event or thing would you want to sever from? And okay, so wait for if you haven't ever watched Severance, basically it's like they put a little chip in your brain, and when you go into something else, you have like an innie and an outie. Like you only remember like so. There's people that like sever themselves for birth, for their jobs, whatever it is. So if you had a severance chip, and this person said, I would. They said mine would be traveling on an airplane. I'm fine in airplane
Fair.
travel.
But then your innie is only just experiencing
Travel,
the
they'd probably be very happy.
just the flying though. They don't get anywhere.
Oh, that would be very mean.
Exactly. Like
Imagine
if
sitting on those tiny seats. That's your whole life
yeah,
is sitting on those cramped seats. Your back would hurt.
just right.
Yeah.
So then never get the reward, right? Like the reason to get on that plane is that you get the reward of travel, but then they never get the reward. So
You're
we have to
right.
be nice to our innies.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really good point. Okay. So what would your severance ship be? What event?
Let me think. Um, hmm.
I don't know if I have one.
Like everyone I think of, I'm like, is
Working out.
that one? Working out. Perfect. Actually, yes. Yes.
Exercise.
Exercise, drinking water.
Going to the dentist.
No, because then they're always just
Oh,
going to the
yes, you're
dentist.
right.
You have to think about your innie.
If all they do is work out, that might not be that bad for my innie. Maybe
Well,
they
that's
love
what
fitness.
that's what I'm saying. Like there's so many benefits to
They're
working
getting
out
they're getting
too.
endorphins. They
You
they
might
could get
get
them a
right,
nice
you might get
community. Yeah.
exactly. You get
Yeah.
friendship connection. And so,
They could
yeah,
date someone in there. Yeah, that's fine.
exactly. Working out's a really good one.
Yeah, the dentist is mean.
It's me
Their whole,
exactly.
their whole life is just going to the dentist.
It's right. You have to.
I'm going with gym because then I don't have to think about working out, but they still get a good life.
Yeah. I'm gonna piggyback off
Okay.
of that and say the exact. I can't think of anything. Maybe talking on the phone.
No, but sometimes you got to remember what those phone calls are, though.
That's true.
Right? Wouldn't that be
Yeah.
hard to not remember any phone calls?
Maybe like decorating my house.
What the fuck? Such a really specific one, though.
I'll tell you why. They could become so good at decorating. And they could get a like like a benefit from like I'm putting this together, right? If and the reason why I want to sever myself from that is because making the decisions around things is so hard.
It just sounds like such a, I don't know. What if you hate what your innie does? What if you and your innie here's a
Right.
question. What if you and your innie are actually incredibly separate of your style decorations and then you have no control?
Right. Yeah. Oh God. And I like wake up and I'm like, what the fuck?
Why is my house hot pink? But your innie just like fucking loves hot pink.
Right.
See, you didn't think this
Okay.
through. Jim.
I don't. Oh, I got it. Doing the
What?
podcast. Doing the podcast. Todd. Todd. I'd wake up in the like the millions of episodes that we
I'm
have to
going to be
record would
honest
be
with
done.
you. We basically are severed from this because people will come up to us and be like, "Ah, when you said this on the podcast," and we're both like, "We said what?" Like we.
Yeah, like what? I had no idea.
So I do slightly severed. Okay,
Right.
so we're gonna get to the episode, and I'm gonna tell the story behind why I want to do this episode today. And this is the story. Okay, so I've had a lot going on recently. Right after many, months and months and months and months, you know, ongoing IVF, infertility, multiple rounds of everything. Then you get pregnant, right? And everyone's like, oh, you're going to be so happy you're pregnant. You're like, it's so much more complex than that, but sure. And then it's like, oh, fuck, I run a business. I got to fucking take maternity leave. Okay, so now Jen and I are living in a space where I'm like, we have to work 60 hours a week to get ready for me to take maternity leave, which sucks for Jen because she still has to work the whole time gone, yet also has to work 60
Never,
hours a week right now.
never ends for me.
This is not benefiting you, except for that you won't have to do the podcast for
Yes.
4 months because we had to pre-record everything. So that's your only benefit, I think. Everything else you're fucked with.
It's going to be a lot of other things
It's gonna be a
that
lot
I'm going to have to take on. All good.
That's what I'm saying. Your one benefit is this.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
it. Okay.
Yes.
So we've been recording basically all day, every day for the past month. And we've also had a lot of other things. It's also tax season. That's like a crazy time. Right. It's tax season. It's an interesting time for therapists in general because there is like a downfall of intakes from COVID for every therapist, right? Like the COVID boom sort of over. And then you had all of these venture capitalist private equity firms come in and take over mental health in a way. And so then you have locally owned, female owned businesses that we cannot ever compete with the venture capitalist confirm because we don't have millions of dollars to spend on fucking advertising a month, right? And so it's just an interesting time to be in mental health because there's so many conversations around mental health, and yet trained therapists are actually being kept at a lot of them. Like, right?
Yes.
And so it's like just like a sort of a weird time. So we're working a lot. We're very, very busy. And I'm also very involved in a lot of other stuff, right? I do charity work. I'm very involved in my daughter's school. And this past weekend, I had lots of events. I was emceeing a charity event for my daughter's school. I was attending another charity event for hospital on Saturday. I had 2 children's birthday parties, and I had a lot of stuff happening. And that's overwhelming for me, but I like shit like that, right? So like, you and I like being busy. It's not a problem. Okay. But even going into the weekend, I was pretty burnt out. I've been really struggling. I MC this entire event, this charity event. I think they've raised money. I have no idea, and I'll tell you why. I get off the stage from MCing this entire thing, just doing a live auction, and I have a missed call from the babysitter. And our babysitter is a lovely teenage girl, like many babysitters are. And she's pretty freaked out. Millie's pretty sick. And I'm like, okay, so give her, and my daughter has severe asthma. So I'm like, all right, give her some cough medicine. She goes and gives her cough medicine. 10 minutes later, I try to go back into the vent. 10 minutes later, she calls again. And I answer, and it's the teenage girl's mom. And which was, she did such a good job calling her mom. Like she knew that she was in over her head. This scared her. And she was, I said to her, I said, that was so, it is so good to ask for help, right? So she calls her mom. The mom calls me and she's like, I think you have to come home. So I get in the fucking car. Me and my husband is thankfully at this event. We book it home. My daughter cannot breathe. She had a severe asthma attack. Her lungs were closing. We quickly go into the hospital. She's put on emergency oxygen. We were admitted, and we spend the next few days on breathing treatments. And so you have a 6-year-old kid who's hospitalized on oxygen. If you've ever had a child that's had to have IVs and stuff put in, not really fun. And then I'm in a 3rd trimester sitting on fucking horrible hospital furniture. And going into this, I was pretty depleted. And then just make it like 50 times worse. Also, just like you were spending more than like 15 minutes in a hospital. Like it is not good.
No, it sucks the life out of you.
It really, there's something about
the lights,
the lighting, right? Everything. It's scary. It's overwhelming.
Yes.
I'm trying to explain everything to my kid. She's obviously not thrilled to be there. My at one point, they're holding her down, putting this IV in. She's like, I hate it here. I'm never coming back here again. I will only go to my doctor from now on.
Also, I can imagine you feel, right? Like in those moments, you have to be the strong one. Like you have to have it all together.
Well, part of me is that like, I want to talk her through this. And the other part of me is like, just stab her and get it over with. Like that sounds fucked up, but like, you're also like, I also desperately want this child to get medication.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm scared for their life.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting place where you're at of like, I want to sit here and be like a gentle, loving parent. And the other part, I'm like, fucking get the IV in. Let's go. Fluids, stat. I'm a medical, I'm an EMT. I'm like, yeah. Like, right. Like, I'm like, push it, stat, 0.2 milligrams, like, because like you're scared, right? So like,
yeah.
Also, it's funny because in those moments, I'm like, I just want this kid to be okay.
Yeah.
Like, if you have a little bit of emotional trauma from this, as long, like,
yeah,
you sometimes it's like, yeah, right. Like you're so scared. And so I'm sitting there and I start thinking after we get the IVs in, and I'm starting to think about how I'm a bad mom. I'm thinking about how my kid had this horrible asthma attack. I'm at an event. I'm not with her. I am not being as soft as I should be with her when they're trying to put IVs in. Like I'm sitting there beating myself up. And I finally had this end of like, oh, fuck this. I don't give a fuck. Like I had this moment of like, I'm like sitting there in the shame spiral because it's not really about me, right? What it is I'm scared. My kid was sick. Yeah. You don't know what's going to happen. Everything's a loss of control. And so what we do is we attack ourselves.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and you want to know what, my husband does? He's like, I'm going to go take a nap in the car. And now part of me is like, fuck you, motherfucker. I should match you. And then I'm like, but why? He's taking really good care of himself. What a good, there's nothing we can do. We have to wait for all the breathing treatments to be over. Yeah. Her and I are set up watching. He knows I ain't gonna leave her side. Like he had said to me, he's like, why don't you go home and sleep? I'm like, there's no fucking way. So he's like, well, I know my wife's not gonna leave. One of us should get a few hours of sleep.
Yeah.
He wasn't gonna leave us there. He's like, I'll go sleep in the car. There's nowhere to even sit here.
Yeah.
And I found myself wanting to be mad at him. And then I'm like, I'm not though. Like, is that the worst thing in the world that he's gonna go take care of himself?
Right.
No. And in that moment, I was like, I'm not mad at you. I want to learn from you.
Wow.
Like, what an impressive thing to sit here and be like, there's nothing like to like, he's so much better at radical acceptance than I am.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question about that?
Sure.
Were you able to, like, did you get yourself out of the shame spiral before you had that conversation with him? Like, I'm just wondering if
no, I
that's
feel
connected.
like they happened at the same time. I feel like they happened at the same time that I'm like having the spiral. And he's like saying, because he said to me, he's like, why don't you go take a nap in the car? Or do you want to go drive home and sleep? And then I'll like keep you updated about coming back. We only take in one car there.
Yeah.
And And I realized in that moment, like, I'm not leaving her. Like, there was no
Right.
chance in hell you were taking me away from this kid's side right now. Also, because she
Yeah.
wanted me there.
Of
I am that
course.
that person to her. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there was just no way.
Yeah.
Uh, and once I realized, like, that's my decision to make. I could have taken him up on the offer to leave,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't. And so,
Yeah.
why should he sit here and
Yeah.
not, you know what I mean? Like, why should we both sort of like sit here and suffer?
Yeah.
When it's like, no, the decision I am making is to sit here. And
Yeah.
there's nothing he can do to change that. I'm not willing to leave here.
Right.
And so, yeah, man, go take a nap in the car. He took it, I think sure it only took like a 3 hour nap, hard to say. But, we were eating some popsicles, watching some movies. I mean, she's
But
hooked
like,
up to all the stuff. She couldn't fall back asleep, right?
yeah.
They're also putting you on so many steroids for your lungs
Yeah.
that it's like adrenaline.
Yeah. Well, like your ability to get yourself out of that shame spiral in that moment, I feel like is so powerful because when you're in it, when you're so in your
Uh-huh.
head, right, and you're kind of stuck in it, it's hard to kind of like bring yourself out of it and be like, wait, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Do you
Well, I
know
think
how?
it felt so much about choice. Like in that moment, um, it did feel like choice. Like it felt
Okay.
like it is my choice to stay here. Like, what do I have control over right now? And like, yeah, one of us
Mm-hmm.
should sleep.
So like your ability to say, what do I actually have control over right now,
Yes,
right? I
that's
have
what it was.
control over the fact that I'm staying here, and I also have control over beating myself up
And how I feel about him.
and how I feel about him.
That was
So
the other thing.
you went from feeling so powerless in this situation
Hmm.
to kind of internally saying
Yeah.
like, well, what do I have control over? Which is like, what a switch to go through.
Yeah. Yeah.
And such a hard thing to do when you're already feeling so burnout too.
Hmm.
So like I just like wanted to highlight that because your ability to like make that switch in that moment, I feel like is pretty powerful.
Um, I will say it's been, unfortunately, this is not my daughter's first time in the hospital with asthma issues and breathing issues. You know that. I think I
Hmm.
probably have talked about it before on the podcast. She has severe asthma. Um, it was the first time that him and I did not end up in a big fight.
Wow. Do you feel like
So
that?
stressful for me when
Yeah.
she is sick, when I am so fucking scared.
Yeah.
Um, it is really hard for me to not, for some reason, take it out on him, right? Like,
Yeah.
so whether it's that he's better at self care during this time, whether it's that he's not as freaked out as I am, right? Like, because he's so much stable, for some reason, I find myself blaming and attacking him more.
Mm.
And this was the first time that I was like, wow, like, one, this is also like really our lives.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
now,
Like, do you feel like that history of going through this
uh-huh,
helped you navigate this in a different way?
totally.
Yeah.
I think it was just a thing of like, wow, like this is what our life is, like this is what it's going to
Yeah.
be like with her having a chronic illness and having this. And, um, you know, unfortunately, we've been here before. We've done this before. You can figure out a different way to manage. The harder part is like when she was a lot younger, um, she knew less.
Yeah.
So like she's like, oh wait, what's that thing? Wow, what is that?
Yeah.
Right now she's like, I
Yeah.
know what the fuck that needle, like she's like, now
Yeah.
I know what you're doing. And so that part gets harder,
I'm sure.
but it's easier for me to separate, like, yeah, like she's pretty freaked out by this, and still she can be upset and she has to get this medical attention right now, and it's okay that she
Hmm.
freaks out. Where
Mm.
before it used to be like when she would scream and cry, like my heart would hurt so bad and it felt like a part
Yeah.
of me was being attacked,
Yeah.
when I'm able to separate that, you know?
Wow.
And so, but the thing I really want to hit home about this is like there are times in life where you do not need to worry about being better. You do not need to worry about, was I the best mom in that moment? You know what I mean? Like there are times in life where we triage this shit
Yeah.
the way they did at the hospital, right? What is the emergency situation? And that it was not about my kid's feelings. It was about what had to happen medically for her in that moment.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when we think about decisions we're making, especially for those of us who do so much of this work of healing and growth and all of this shit that like I do truly, truly believe in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we worry, I hear this from moms all the time. We're so worried about doing the right thing and not giving our kids trauma and not giving them all the stuff. Like life is gonna fucking fuck your kid up. It does not matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. Like shit's gonna happen.
And you thinking about all the stuff you should have done more is not gonna benefit fucking anyone.
Well, and it also sounds like that is the thing, right? Like your acceptance of the situation and
Yeah.
like this like radical acceptance you had of just like we just need to get through this, you know, like and it's this has happened before and making the switch from like what did I do wrong or like this shame spiral of what could I do differently or going from that to okay, like we got to get through this sounds like it completely shifted the way in which you kind of handled a very scary situation.
Yeah.
So, like that, right? Like to just mentally make the shift for anyone listening, going from a place of, I need to constantly be thinking about what I could do better or what I could do differently to, okay, like, how do I just get through this? How do I take care? How do I nurture myself through this so that I can just get through this so I can survive?
Yeah.
And so if you're on this like constant healing journey, sometimes that's a hard switch to make.
Yeah. I think it's a hard switch to make. And I think that there are times that you then you stop being present.
Yeah.
Right? Like the thing was, if I was like sitting there, like initially sitting in the same spiral about how like I wasn't as comforted to her as I wish I was while they're putting the IVM, I wasn't able to then be present and like eat some fucking popsicles and like, I'm like, what do you want to do? You want to order some shit on Amazon? Let's fucking do it. You want to eat popsicles like fucking 3 a.m? No one can breathe. Here we are. Um, I think that sometimes when we're focusing so much about who we want to be and growth and all healing and all the other stuff, um, it can sometimes take away from present.
Yeah. And it sounds like being present was like really the thing that was helpful in that moment.
I mean, what was I gonna fucking do? Be like, they're
Right.
trying to put IVs in her and be like, buddy, it's okay how you feel. I'm like,
Right.
I know you're scared. Let's fucking go. Like, I
Let's do it. You can be scared and
you
you
can
can
be
get through
scared,
it.
and they literally have to put this medicine in you right now.
Yeah.
That's it. You
And it's
know,
like, it's also like such, it sounds like such modeling to like where you were in that moment, right? For you to be, say, like even for yourself, like I can be scared, I can be burnout, I can go through, and I can get through this, and we
yeah.
can get through this, right? Like it was like such a kind of
It,
modeling.
well, it's fucked up, but there are times in life where you've got to say fuck your feelings. And that I know is very hard to hear from a therapist. But there were times in life where your feelings are actually incredibly unhelpful to you.
Right.
Because
Right.
what are you going to do in an emergency fucking situation?
Right. And
Your
that's, and
feelings
that's a
don't matter.
right. And so, but I think like people often read their feelings, right? I'm scared, so I can't do this, or I
Yes.
won't be able to do this, as opposed to I'm scared and I can do this,
Yeah. The end.
right? Like
Right.
it's that, it's not about like shoving your feelings down. It's like, okay, you can feel this and
Yeah.
you can also get through this.
Uh huh.
You can be burnout and you could spend hours, days at a hospital with your kid and get through
I mean, I texted you what 1 a.m. I was like, hey, I don't think I'm making
it.
it. I'm making it to the fundraiser tomorrow. Just a general thought. I don't think I'm
Just a
making it.
thought. Right. And, like after we have had weeks and weeks of a lot of work,
Yeah.
end of the week, last week, we were both like, oh, we're so burnt out. Like,
Yeah.
can't wait for this weekend to get a break. And, you could have anticipated that you were going to get a break and you didn't get that break. And it's upsetting and you can still get through it.
Yes. Yeah. And
And
I
so,
think that that is something to be said about like, could there be times where my feelings are getting in the way?
yeah. Or
Because
your
the
like
thing was,
reaction to the feelings.
exactly, right? Like, because like I can process the feeling afterwards, like
Right.
in that moment, like I'm not saying afterwards I should be like, oh, don't feel anything. Like afterwards, like I could sit with her and feel her feelings. I could be like, holy shit, I can't believe that just happened. I had people texting me, be like, you were amazing at the event tonight. And I'm sitting in the fucking chop with my hair done, my makeup on. I look amazing at the
You looked
ER,
gorgeous for the
gorgeous in the
hospital.
emergency room. And I'm like, people are texting me about this event. I'm like, what happened? That was years ago. Right. So,
Right.
like,
Different
afterwards, I
lifetime.
can sit and process those feelings. But in the moment, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't.
And like just to be able to also say to yourself, like, I don't have to process this now, but I could process it later that I'm
Yeah.
disappointed, that that was like a hard weekend or that was scary or
Yeah.
that, right? Like
Or that I
there,
wish I was different. I wish I was more, you know what I mean? Like, there was a moment I was just like, fuck, I wish I was more gentle with her. And then it
mm,
was like, I don't know, but like, does it really matter? Right. Like,
right.
and like, listen, 20 years from now, she could sit in a therapy room and be like, man, I have this memory of being 6 years old at the hospital. My mom was like, just put it in her.
And listen, she'll go to therapy and she'll
And I'll pay
process
for it.
through
And I'll
it.
pay for it. That's fine. You can say whatever you want about me in therapy. I don't give a shit, because what she might not remember is in that moment, she needed that fucking magnesium in her in her
Yeah.
goddamn body.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. That was all I cared about.
Do you also want to share kind of like the end of that experience?
She's fine now. Wait, well, what was the end of it?
Just because I feel like this is such an important message. Remember when you texted me and you were like, can I have like Jamie's number or something? You advocating
Oh,
for
yes.
yourself?
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Okay, so then we're 24 hours in the hospital, and there was a part where like her breathing, her oxygen level wasn't getting that much better. Like, so it was more stable, but it wasn't getting quite as high as they wanted it to be. And they're like, they start talking about the treatment tomorrow. And I'm like, I can't stay here another day. And this kid can't stay here another day. And like,
Yeah.
we are now like hitting, you know what I mean? Like, this is not working. And I really was like, you want to know what? I really think she needs to go. You ever, like, in a hospital, they're in there. She's on breathing treatments every 2 hours. So if they're in there every 2 hours, you're not getting a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
It's just not the same as being at home. And I really was feeling like I got to get this kid home. And also at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to ignore professional advice. And so I text Jen and I'm like, hey, are you with Jamie, who's her other best friend, which makes me consider Jamie one of my best friends. Like, is Jamie or Bill there? Because Jen's husband was also in medical, was a nurse for a long time. And she's like, no, we can call her. I was like, well, I have Jamie's number. I can always call her. Just assumed you're with her. And I'm like, okay, I want to be respectful, because like the respect I have for doctors and nurses is like so fucking insane that like if like a doctor or nurse said to me like, no, your child needs to be here, I would respect it no matter what.
Yeah.
But also I do know that sometimes part of the medical field is like nobody wants to get sued, and they have like certain numbers they're looking, you know what I mean? They have a certain number, like there's like stuff like that. And so I'm like texting Jen and I was like, I really feel like my mom God is saying to me, like, I got to take this kid home. And so I go out and talk to the doctor and I say, listen, here's all the stuff I have at home, right? Because like we've been through this before, right? So we have all the breathing treatments, we have pulse ox, we have, all this stuff. And I'm like, here's what I would do at home, which I think is not that different than you would do here, except for that, obviously without IVs. And I said, I really want to take her home. I think she needs a good night's sleep. I will call my doctor first thing. Our doctor is amazing. Here are the steps I would take. Is there any chance we can get released? Like, what, you know what I mean? Like, where do you think we're at? The respiratory, went back and forth for a while. And I'm like texting Jen. I'm like, I don't want to be crazy. I don't want to be like some like insane mom, but also at the same time, like I'm telling you, I feel this in my gut.
Yeah.
And the way I feel like, hopefully I approached it with the doctors was very compassionate and reasonable. And they did, they ended up releasing us before her oxygen levels were quite as where they wanted them to be. I got her to go home. I showered her in the shower. She's also crying. She said that she's so tired. I'm like, I don't care, got a shower. There's so many germs there. I know that you need the steam on your legs. Like, once again, I'm like, And in that moment, it's like, oh God, this kid's been through so much. I'm like, I don't care. I got to get her steam on her.
Got to get you better. Yeah.
The fuck yeah. And so, and yeah, she's the next day she slept for 17 hours and she's doing great now. Um, and that was hard for me, right? Like I'm someone who's been like sort of scared of medical professionals my whole life. But you do get to a point where it's like, I think I know what to do here. And of course, I'll always be respectful about how I ask it, but I was so glad that I like really advocated for myself and my kid in that moment.
Yeah.
I forgot about that part of the story.
Yeah, no, I thought that was such an important part of the story. And like I think one thing you also like were considering in those moments, like you were running on zero sleep.
Well, I said to you, I said, I don't know. I also don't know how crazy I am right now.
Right. And so that's why I think it was like you approached it, it sounds like in a way where you're like, I want to acknowledge that like I'm not running on a lot of sleep. And at the same time, I also want to trust my instinct. And
Yeah.
you had that instinct from like early on.
Yes.
Like that was there for you. And so I just think it was so wonderful that you spoke up and advocated for yourself
Yeah. You do.
in
But
that moment.
when you're that sleep deprived, you're like, I don't know.
Right. Of
I
course.
also was like, I am 7.5 months pregnant and I can't sit in these chairs any longer. My body.
Right. And also, if they really thought it was a bad idea, they would say, listen, I understand but this is a really bad idea.
That's what I said. And I said, please tell me, like I said to her, I was like, you can tell me to fuck off. Like in 1 second, you can be like, ma'am, you were fucking dumb. This is your kid's life.
Yes.
Yeah. I was like, but here are the steps I would take.
Yeah.
What do you think? And they went back, they met as a team and, we were able to figure out a nice solution and they were fucking awesome to work with. I can't chop King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, fucking amazing. All the respiratory team. All right, we have a Dear Em and Jen we have to get to.
Okay, before we get to that, I'm so thrilled that Millie's feeling better.
Listen, this and then she when they put IVs in kids, it's usually in their hands because it's harder for them to do it in their arms. And then they put this like little cast thing, and then she, those kids in high school that would like go to the hospital and like wear their hospital.
Yes,
that's my child.
She's wearing her house.
No, I wouldn't let her, but she was like, I'm gonna wear this to school all week, and I was like, you're fucking not. The IV is out. Just because they let you take at home.
She wanted the attention.
Let her
get her hospital attention.
I said, don't worry, you can show everyone the bruises from the IVs. You can tell everyone the story. And then, she got to school and another girl broke her arm over the weekend. So like she was old news anyway.
Nothing's really a shame.
Nothing's quite as cool as a cast. That's for sure.
So true.
Yep. Dear Em and Jen, I'm a huge fan and found your podcast from the episode on how to stop taking shit personally. The episode really resonated with me, and I don't think I realized just how much I was taking personally. My question is, I have the insight awareness now, but I feel stuck when it comes to putting stuff taking stuff less seriously into action. Where do I begin? For instance, my sister-in-law declined coming to my birthday party the other day, and my head immediately goes to the piece of questioning if I did something wrong, inspecting her tone or voice, etc. How do I break this automatic response? Thank you.
So it sounds like there's an expectation that if you do enough of this work, that you're not going to have this automatic response. When in reality, the automatic response is going to come up. It's not about eliminating the automatic response. It's about the information. That's the information. It's about what you do with the automatic response when it comes up. So I understand that, of course, it would be preferable if you were just like, no problem. It doesn't hurt me at all. But you're human. It's natural that you're going to have feelings around it. My first question too would be like, what's the feeling that comes up? Like, name the emotion that is getting triggered for you. Because it sounds like whatever emotion that comes up, then you go into inspecting, did I do something wrong, right? So like, for example, if it's bringing up this feeling of rejection, right? And when rejection comes up for you, the way in which you typically handle rejection is to question yourself and see if you did something wrong. Because the more you understand what emotion is coming up, you can name it and you can take care of yourself through it. To say like, okay, I feel rejected and this is not personal to me.
Yeah.
Right. I can feel rejected and I can also acknowledge this isn't personal, right? It doesn't mean I did something wrong. It doesn't mean that this person doesn't like me or they don't want to, that both things can be true. So sometimes even just being able to name what the emotion is that's coming up can be helpful in like talking yourself through it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Shrink Chicks.
We'll see you back here next week for another session.
In the meantime, if you want a question answered or a topic discussed, follow us on Instagram at ShrinkChicks. And if you're looking to get connected with a therapist like us to start or continue your therapeutic journey, visit thetherapygroup.com. Just fill out a contact form on our website, and we will personally match you with one of our amazing therapists. And for all of our therapists and group practice owners out there, we also offer group practice consulting.
And if you're looking to support yourself further and support our show, check out our amazing merch options at shrinkchicks.com/merch and our Know Yourself, Grow Yourself journal on Amazon. Also, if you'd be so kind, we'd love a rating, review, and for you to share with a friend or an enemy or a mother-in-law, honestly, whoever needs it, so that we can keep reaching more people on our mission to bring mental health topics to your ears every week.
Thanks for being here with us. And don't forget, to grow yourself, you got to know yourself.